everyone. Today I am interviewing my dear friend Yolande Johnson.
Whoop whoop.
Okay, Yolande, so I have some questions for you. To start off, I'm going to ask you some simple questions. Just tell me about where you are from.
I grew up in the Kettle Falls, Colville area. That's about an hour and a half north. Lots of woodsy nature. Not a lot of people, like population-wise, versus here. But yeah.
You enjoyed growing up there?
I did. I really did. That's where I get my love of horses. I
Oh.
love horseback riding.
I love horses too.
Yay!
Okay, so how did you grow up?
Well, my mom and dad divorced when I was about 3. And so my dad stayed in Kettle Falls, and me, my mom, and my brother, we all moved to Colville. And so we grew up for most of our life in that area. And then eventually me, my mom, and my brother moved up to Spokane. And so, yeah, the rest of my life has been pretty much spent here besides college.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So you just mentioned that you have a brother.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, my brother, he's 2 years older. So I'm 25, he's 27. And right now he lives in the Seattle area.
Oh, okay. So your birth order, what kind of responsibilities that entail? You being the younger sister.
Yeah.
And your brother being 2 years older than you.
Yeah, it's really interesting how most of the time the younger one has not a lot of responsibilities. They get away with a lot of different things. But for some reason, in my case, like, I had to be the responsible one because my brother was always just doing random things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, even now, like, my parents will come to me to get things done.
Rather than him?
Yeah, rather than
So
my
almost
brother.
like you're the older one in a way.
Yeah, because he's still growing up, so.
Yeah. So what is you said that your parents are divorced. When did that happen? And I know you mentioned that you moved from, you were originally in Post Falls, and then you're in Colville, and then you moved Kettle Falls,
Yeah.
and then Colville,
Mhm.
and then Spokane.
Yeah.
So, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, like, I remember, because when my mom and my brother had moved, me, my mom, and my brother moved to Colville, like, we were really sad, even though we were young, but we knew that something, like, there was a bond that was broken within our family. And I remember even being young thinking, well, was it my fault? Like, did I do something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember my mom saying, no, it's not your fault. And that is, like, a really big piece of, like, that family component. It's really large when you're growing up. And even though my dad was in the picture, like, he would, pick us up on the weekends. It still wasn't, like, home. And that
Wasn't
family,
the same.
Yeah, that family concept had kind of disintegrated.
Yeah. So what was your parents' highest level, of education, and did you seek to earn more education than your parents, and why?
Yeah, no, great question. My mom and dad both went through high school, but my dad started college but then dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
And then so in my case, because my mom, like, she was the one that didn't have all the money, because my dad didn't really pay child support, and because he'd rather, like, spend the money on us versus giving the money directly to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I'd say not quite poverty, but, like, pretty low class for my mom. But then my dad, on the other hand, he's, like, mid, a little upper. And so we had the two different worlds. And I remember, because growing up around my mom, I remember just thinking, well, what is my way out of, like, this area or this lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really through school. I realized that school was my number one ticket if I wanted to grow up and not live the same lifestyle. And so, yeah, like, I just kept on going through school and then ended up getting my master's. The pursuit was really not to be better than them, but to just make sure that I was setting myself up for success. And one way I was doing that through school.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So let's see here. Can you share the most valuable lesson that you learned and why? I know that might be kind of a hard question, but
No, it's a really good question. It's a broad question,
it is
but
broad.
but when I think about that question, like just pondering about my life now and looking back over the years, I think on the things that I regret the most. And I think the thing that I regret the most is not loving people. Like if I have an opportunity or a chance to love someone, like those are the things that are like I regret. And so even now, um, like that just makes a huge difference to me. Like that is the most important thing in my life now is to love people, because that's what we all ultimately want, is to be loved.
I agree.
Yeah, it's
very
really
cool
important.
realization.
Yeah.
So are there any key experiences or moments in your life that seem to have helped shape and inform your identity? Like interactions with role models, church, sports, clubs?
You had mentioned church. When I was 15 years old, I was at a camp in Canada, and I heard this gospel being preached, and I was like, wow, like he's just putting my life out there. Like it just seemed like it was my life that he was speaking to. I remember giving my life to Christ at that time, and that really just shaped like who I am, and just like opened my eyes up to the person that I am, the reason that I'm here, the reason that I live, move, and have my being is because of Christ. And so like being involved in church a lot and just living my lifestyle for Christ, like it's been unreal. Like the awesome people that I've met, the mentors that I've had.
Yeah.
It's just been ridiculous to have that amount of love, and even from people who don't know me, I'm not their blood, like, but we're still family in Christ. Like it's unreal, and it's been a blessing for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. So this is the next question. So what is your most painful experience or most positive experience? Or you could answer both of them too, but if if anything comes in mind.
No, it's a great question. Like painful experience, I would say, because when I look back over my life, I'm like, what caused me the most pain? I would say feeling alone. Not really feeling like you're loved, not really feeling like anyone cares about you. Like that struck a chord in my life. And so that pain and all that hurt, I remember just turning over to the Lord, and the Lord saying, he'll exchange that beauty for ashes, so that all those pains and all that agony, like he'll wipe away all the tears, and like that's really what he's done. He's filled that void of that pain. But then the most positive, again, is just being around people who love you no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, they just love you. They just, exactly. And like I said, they don't have to be blood. They just have to be, family.
There for you, and So when did you feel like or know you were going to be okay or successful in life?
When I got my master's, I remember that moment, because I remember going into my master's and thinking, well, can I really do this? I'm not quite sure. I'm like, I got done with my bachelor's, and I was like, well,
can I do it again?
Only at a higher level.
Yeah.
Thinking. And so, I started the program, and it was like they were speaking Greek, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then just continuing on, pressing on, doing the best that I possibly could. Like, I ended up graduating with really high GPA, like flying colors, just, and so I knew that just going through that and having, full-time work and then going to school at night, like, a lot of pressure, and, having all these church activities too, like, I was able to do it. Like, I was able to make it. Yeah.
You were.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Good. So, yeah.
Very inspiring. So do you feel like that race and ethnicity has affected you in your life?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even when I was growing up, because in the Kettle Falls, Culver area, like, it's a very small population of people, and then you get, you got a lot of salt, but no pepper. So me and my brother and my mom were like the only pepper there. And so, it definitely made a difference, just growing up. And even coming here to Spokane, I remember growing up and having both groups of friends, black and white. And even with my white friends, like, I feel like like they knew me as Yolande, but then they still knew me as a black girl. Like that was always a connotation that would never be separated, the color of my skin. And even with my black friends, like I was black, so they associated me simply because I was black. Associated with me simply because I was black. And so, yeah, it definitely shaped the friends that I made. And even in the workforce, it's not talked about a lot. But
you can still pick up on.
You can see the difference. Yeah, if you look at statistics and the majority of people, the population for the black versus the white, Mexican, etc., like there's not an even span of, there's 50% here, and it's not clear across the board. And you can look at the jail statistics; it's similar. The majority of, blacks to whites in jail is like significantly higher for the black race. Like there's a lot of different things that you can look at. And again, it's really hard to say, well, it's their race that did it. It's their race that did it. But like the statistics, I believe, can speak for themselves in some of these situations. So, yeah.
Okay, so the next question I have for you, Yolande, can you recall a moment when you knew that you were black? Like a significant moment that, if you were a certain age or something that kind of just clicked?
So, yeah, I remember swimming. And you see my hair now, it's straight. If you put this in water,
what does it do?
It's gonna be like. So I remember swimming, and like everyone would have their hair just flowing, and it would just be like woo. Yeah. And mine would be all kinky and like coarse. And people would ask me like, "Wow, is your hair wet?" And I like get out of the water. I'm like, "Yeah, it's soaking wet." And then my white friends would be like, "It doesn't look wet." And I'm like, "I'm not your race. It won't look wet." It's good though. Like I realized in those moments that it was a key moment that we were definitely different. Yeah. And like there's nothing wrong with that. It's simply the way that I was created. So.
Cool. So you've kind of talked about how you felt isolated or different because of your race. Have you always been comfortable in your own skin, or?
Yeah, like I personally don't feel like I have to feel like any certain type of way in a black or white crowd. I have learned just from my dad. My father is white. My mom is black. Just to be around both races and appreciate and love both races. I don't feel different. I don't feel, cast aside. I definitely realize when I stand out. Like, I know that I'm like, okay, I'm the only black woman in the room. Yeah. Like, you realize those types of things. But then at the same time, does that make me act a certain way? I would say no. I still act the same way I am now. Of course, cool. Around your friends, like, you're gonna, be a little different. But around,
you just kind of learned how to be yourself. Without, it doesn't matter, if you're white, black, or you're just kind of yourself. So, let's see here. So what did your parents, teachers, pastors, or role models do to enable you to deal with the challenges of racial differences?
Yeah, good question. I remember them just speaking life and worth into me. So knowing who I am as a person, knowing that I'm loved, knowing that I'm cared for, that makes all the world of difference when you're dealing with people, because really it's an identity issue. If you're not really sure of who you are, then you're going to act a lot different around different people. You're like, I don't know how to act, I don't know how to talk. And so again, speaking worth, speaking life, to me as a person, as a child of God. Yeah.
Nice. So how do you currently identify yourself racially?
I'm so 100% white. I'm just 100%, like, you can't tell me any different. No, I'm just kidding. Like, it's interesting because as a black person, I'm only 50% black. If you're not 100% black, in my perception, if you're not 100% white, then you're not white at all. Like, you have to have the color of white skin. You can't be, 50%. If it's an all or nothing type of thing.
Yeah, I understand
and
that.
so, for me anyway, because of that piece, like, I am 50% white, 50% black, but the black, since it's there, that's the color of my skin, is darker than I am black. And that's how I identify myself as black.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So, what does your race mean to you?
Good question. I know that food-wise, culture-wise, talk-wise, so your speech, ebonics, all of that is mixed into the color of your skin. And so my race is, like, I love Southern food, and I also love, Asian types of food, but I lean towards Southern food because that's kind of my background. That's where I grew up in. And so my race, again, is the culture, the way I speak, the way I do my hair, the way I talk, the people that I associate with. All those things are wrapped into one with my race. So, yeah.
Okay, let's see here. So how do you feel about being black?
Feels good being black, don't it? No. Oh my goodness, no. Good question. I don't know if I feel a certain way.
Yeah.
I feel
it's just who you are,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, like I think, it's great that I can dance. Like, I guess there's an association between black and dancing. So I'm like, maybe there is, because I love to dance, so I don't know.
Can you show,
oh, yes! Ready! Here we go. Hey, what? Yes.
Okay. I would embarrass you
You're like,
too
okay,
much.
stop. Hand
I could show some of my skills, but I don't think I...
The Margie. Go.
Okay.
It's like, no.
We're done with that. Okay. So the last and final question, do you ever wish your parents discussed the issue more with you? Kind of about your ethnicity and that sort of thing?
I think it would have been great to talk about a little bit more. Because really, it was non-existent. And so, yeah, just had to figure my way through life in the race area and
put the pieces together.
Exactly, yeah.
Just kind of you grew and, through certain experiences you learn more.
Yeah. And it would have been nice, like I said, to discuss it more and to have them, just being there on the side and speaking, what they see. And telling me the difference between, doing this right or do this different or, this is what's really going on, etc. So it would have been nice, but, I mean, they still love me. So
yeah, they still
do.
Well, that is a wrap on the interview. Give me a big hug, Yolande. Oh, it's good seeing you. And I have to give a big shout out to the videographer, Brian. Come show yourself.
Your face. I love it.
Dun, dun, dun. And it is finished. Do a little curtsy.